Is this the face of Jesus the Christ? This is a picture that was sent to me from people who believe it is. My name is Douglas James Cottrell, and I'm here in this April of 2017 to wish you and your family a happy and wonderful Easter. I was born and raised a Christian. United Church, I was baptized. I'm now an interfaith minister. I have, since my early 20s, attempted to discover the spiritual world and those higher dimensions or heavens above. To some degree, I've been a little successful. But Jesus the Christ has played a big part in my life. His mother Mary also plays a big part in my life, even though I was not a Catholic. I certainly have been in many basilicas and cathedrals, and I have been, with my lovely wife Karen, involved in the Christian faith in a Catholic sense. I have also been to temples and other religious centers attempting to explore the spiritual meaning of their faith, their religion. Here in this time, in 2017, the world seems to be going through an uncertain time, a time of chaos. But as we go into this Easter weekend, let us remember that Jesus the Christ came into the world in a time in which there were tumultuous things going on as well. The persecution of his nation, the atrocities that were taking place with people all over the world conquering and attempting to enrich themselves, to break away from slavery and difficulty. And there were many people seeking to understand the spiritual truths, as then as now. Jesus the Christ was an avatar. He was a godlike being in a physical body. Most importantly, he knew the spiritual path, and he knew the spiritual laws, and he came to teach them, and he came to show them, and he lived the law because he was the law. That law was to be compassionate and to attempt to always seek to be kind and to demonstrate unconditional love to everyone, even those that might be your enemies or who don't believe as you believe. There is no one religion. No one religion is more correct or better than the other. All the world's religions have great truths within them, and so we embrace those truths. Jesus the Christ looked far and wide to find the truth, and when he became the Christ, when that dove descended upon him when he was being baptized by his cousin John the Baptist, we found that he became the Christ at that time. So as we look forward to this Easter, let us remember that Jesus so loved us all, and he fulfilled the law of love, by demonstrating compassion for everyone, and understanding that no particular person was more important than another in the eyes of God, and that to be a good spiritual being, to attempt to be just like Jesus, all we need to do is follow in his footsteps, to be loving, kind, and compassionate to one another. Jesus overcame all the temptations in the earthly world, and he remained true to his spiritual being. That is to say, to continue to love one another and to look after one another. He taught his disciples many things, the mysteries of the heavens above, and he was quite able to visit those heavenly dimensions while still in a physical form. But his real purpose, his real dedication, was to teaching each and every one of us that we're here to look after one another. And that's my message today. And it's been the message from many, many people in the past. The way to salvation, the way to spiritual illumination, the way to experience the compassion of the Christ is to learn how to take care of one another, because this world is a very difficult and dangerous place to be. There are people who don't believe as you believe, but there are many people who are good people. Attempt to take care of one another no matter our spiritual differences, or our spiritual way of believing, if I can say that. The compassion of the Christ was to be compassionate, and tolerant, and loving, understanding, and all the good things that a father does for his family. Jesus was watched over by God Almighty. He was attended by angels. He resisted the temptations of the flesh, and he became our example. During this Christmas time, we celebrate his birth. During this Easter time, we celebrate his death. Between those two times of birth and death, yours and mine, let us attempt to be compassionate, to be just like Jesus the Christ, that we might find our way to the higher dimensions above, and we might find peace here in the world where we live. This Easter weekend is a time to remember and reflect that there came into the world a man that was born into poverty, a man who rose high in society not because of his wealth or his prestige, but because of his understanding of the spiritual laws. He demonstrated miracles, the demonstration of those spiritual gifts that are recounted in the Christian Bible, the book of Corinthians, 1 Corinthians chapter 12. And he attempted to teach us all to be all that we can be. Be true to our spiritual beliefs. Don't allow anyone to dissuade you from what you know to be the truth. And above all, don't do harm to anyone. Be loving, be kind, and you will resurrect yourself from a life that is somewhat material, sad, wanting, and find yourself in a life that is glorious and happy. To be of service and to be loving is to fulfill the destiny of your soul. Jesus, our elder brother, showed us the way. As we remember his death on Friday, and as we remember his resurrection on Sunday, remember, this is to give us hope that we too can overcome any and all difficulties, whatever they might be. To remember to be true to our spiritual truths and beliefs, and above all, to be loving to each other and to do no harm to anyone else. My name is Douglas James Cottrell. I'm wishing you a happy Easter, a time of reflection, a time of renewal, and a time to look higher and upwards to that unconditional love that awaits us all in the arms and bosom of God Almighty. So whatever your faith, whatever your belief, enjoy this time of renewal, this time to come closer to your spiritual being, closer to God Almighty. Until next time, I wish you well, and I trust that as we go through this time, we remember that simple man that became Jesus the Christ.